Welcome back to my kitchen and another grocery haul day, which is a bit different than others in the past because I did get some more free groceries, and I'll tell you how. And I'm also incorporating recipes this week based on what I already had on hand, what I still had in the fridge, of course. I'm talking about pantry and the things that I already food prepped for last week, since I just finished a wellness challenge. And I was craving some Indian food, and I want to introduce you to one of my favorite foodies that I found on YouTube and tell you about a couple of recipes that I'm going to make based on one of her cookbooks. I'm very excited. I'm going to tell you my menu first because I can easily get off on a tangent and get distracted. So what I have decided for this week, since I still had a lot of leftover frozen hash browns, I'm going to have my Veggie Loaded Hash Browns. And rather than thinking that I'll have time to make those for breakfast outside of a weekend, I'm going to have those for dinner. I'm going to have some of my veggie mash, and I'm actually going to be putting some mustard in that, and then have alongside that some sauteed cabbage and onion, maybe with some caraway in there. Also have some air fried russet wedges, my fries, with a wedge salad. I had my oil-free vinaigrette already made, and usually when I make a pint jar of that, it will last me, unless I make a pasta salad or something, it will last for nearly 2 weeks. And I discovered last week, since I still had some of the plant-based Greek yogurt, that mixing a little bit of the two together with some extra garlic made this beautiful creamy styled Italian dressing. And so I had that last night on like a wedge salad, and it was wonderful. So I've still got a little bit of that left over. I'm also going to have a grapefruit avocado salad with a grapefruit and mustard vinaigrette, and that will be paired with whatever starch I'm craving that night. And then for a couple of desserts, since I have some celebrations this week, I have a family get together that I'm going to. I had a leftover can of pumpkin from the holidays, and I never made a pumpkin pie, and I still have yet to use this. The content creator I want to introduce you to is called Broccoli Mom, and I will link to her channel, if only for you to discover her channel and all of her beautiful videos. She showcased a crustless pumpkin pie that, and I make a crust, I'm okay with that, though I was really intrigued by her recipe, since it also used tofu and dates. And if you don't know me, my name's Tiffany. I am the founder of Anderson Therapeutics, and my Anderson Wellness channel is all about my holistic approach to dining well, aging well, and how I am better managing chronic conditions and living healthfully. When I discovered Broccoli Mom, I love the fact that she also follows the dietary plan that I follow, which is called the Starch Solution. And it is a whole food, plant-based, oil-free meal plan. And so finding recipes or other cooks out there who customize all of their recipes alongside me is wonderful. I love to cook, I love to explore and modify recipes, and I still have dozens of cookbooks that were even, I inherited them. So I have some really old cookbooks that I still love to flip through and then modify based off my own taste buds and preferences. So that pumpkin pie will be one of my treats for a party. One of the Indian, then the North Indian, we're talking about the country India recipes. She has an onion Bhaji, Bhaji. It's a type of a fritter that you use with onion and bind it together with chickpea flour. And then also an aloo tikki, which is a potato fritter. And I already had a lot of mashed potatoes left over, so this will just be a really taste sensation because it's going to be spicy and all of those Indian flavors that you would expect in those type of recipes. The last dessert that I will be putting together is from another amazing foodie I've referenced before, and his name is Javant. His channel is Healthy Vegan Eating, and it's a chocolate pudding that you make from sweet potatoes, and then it's only sweetened with dates and very minimal ingredients. It is so delicious. And since a lot of these things I either have on hand or they were on sale, and on sale in a big way because I did get all of these items for free. So I went just to one store today since I still had so many groceries on hand. I went to my favorite ethnic market called Rancho here in the city of Salt, and the total came up to a lucky $13.13. First off, I bought a pineapple. This was on sale. I think it was like $2.43, 2 pounds for $1. I'm going to have part of this either broiled or just raw, and have that as a really refreshing dessert, probably with the Indian food. I like to mist it with a little bit of lime. I'll even put tangerine or chili powder on there. The other half of it, I'm going to chunk and actually freeze it, because if you haven't noticed in any of my videos, there's always some type of a Mickey. I have a not so hidden Mickey on my person at any time. I am one of those adult Disnerds. Been a Disnerd since I was a kid. So that's going to be a lovely dessert, and I didn't want to pass up on that. Great deal. I got 3 of the garnet yams, and these are the ones that I'm going to roast, and that will be the base for that chocolate pudding that I talked about. I also picked up some raw vegetables because if you saw my 3-day wellness challenge, one of the things I took with me, since I often crave savory more than I crave sweet, and then during the day, especially a work day, I want something crunchy. And I hadn't been in the habit of making just raw veggie bags for a while, and I thought, oh, how silly. It's so inexpensive, so easy to do. I can prep them ahead of time. So I got a red pepper, I got a little cucumber, 59 cents, bargain, bargain. I also got a little bunch of radishes. This was 3 for $1, just so inexpensive. Now I use these on salads. I use them for other, cut them up on condiments if I have a rice bowl or something like that. And radishes, the way I store them, they will stay good for, over a week or 2. I also picked up, they had large avocados on sale. So with that grapefruit avocado salad, I already had a grapefruit in the fridge, and that salad sounded really good to me since I already had 2 little gem heads left over. So I'll only need maybe a 1/4 or a half or something. And so then I can, do whatever, because if you've seen my videos, I like chips and guacamole. And with that onion fritter, I already had quite a few onions on hand, and since it is still fairly cool and I have a cool area in my garage, when I buy any type of a root vegetable or onions, tubers, things like that, if they're on sale, I will buy them and then put them down, in cold storage, because they're not going to go bad. The onion fritter, the onion Bhaji recipe calls for 2 onions, so I got these. I also got a jalapeno. Now the aloo tikki, the potato fritter, actually calls for a pepper. So sometimes this type of heat, as much as I like spicy food, you never know until you bite into one of these to test the spiciness. So I just got a little one, since this will just be a portion for me. I got another red onion because my red onion is the favorite one that I like to have on my Veggie Loaded Hash Browns. For snacking and dessert during the work week, I got a couple of mandarins. They also had more of the Mexican squash on sale. And I love that they're always small, you know, for just a side dish or something that I'm going to pair with another meal. And even if it's just for a vegetable saute. So I picked up 4 of these little ones because sometimes like you'll see zucchini and they're enormous, and the smaller and they're more tender, they're not as bitter. These are really, really yummy. And I got apples too. That's another one of my favorite snacks, especially if I'm craving something salty, or even if I want to slice them up and use my PB2 powder, reconstitute it, and have apple slices with peanut butter. That's another option for workday or in the evening and just wanting to have a light dessert. The last thing I picked up, I still had about 3 or 4 pounds of russets in the garage, though again, 8 pounds of potatoes for $1. I'm not going to pass these up because, as I mentioned, I'm going to be having russet wedges, making fries in my air fryer. We'll use some for veggie mash, and having those on hand, especially where they're in, you know, the garage, they're going to be good for, you know, at least a few weeks. So no worries on that. Now, with my freebie, I mentioned this in one other video about ways that I save money on groceries, and this is a lot of food for $13.13. Everything that I showed you here. I mean, look at this mountain of goodness here, along with everything that, you know, I already have from my wellness challenge last week when I focused on starch. I already had a lot of staples like oatmeal. Berries are in season right now. I picked up some strawberries and blueberries the other day. So I'll be having my oatmeal, green, and blueberries for breakfast. That's just an easy, a much simpler breakfast, because even if I'm not hungry early in the morning, I can always just pack it up and take it with me and eat it at my morning break or something like that. The reason why this wound up being no cost to me is because, as an older adult and someone who is managing multiple chronic conditions, that has the odd benefit of enabling me to qualify for certain medical research studies. Now, regardless of your age, regardless of your medical history, research studies, if you have participated or even if you haven't, they are prevalent, especially if you live in a big city or even online. There are all sorts of different research studies. Now, when I participate in these, such as the one I'm in now, it's a long-term study. It's a 13-month study. And so within all of the requirements of this study, there is a certain financial reward. And so the reward I receive on a, it's one of those prepaid visa type things. So every time I reach a certain step or finish a requirement of the study, then they load a certain amount of funds on that visa. That is what I used to pay for this today. So when I budget now, since I have that reward, that's just a big win for me because I already have grocery dollars in my budget. By using this, then I'll take that money and put it elsewhere. I have a birthday trip coming up. I have, as we all do, bills to pay, that I can best utilize that money elsewhere and then score all of these beautiful groceries in a different way. The research studies, I always speak to my doctor first. I research them thoroughly to know if it's truly in my best interest. Will it work with my schedule? And is it something that's going to be worth my time? There are some out there that, of course, you know, it may be something that you don't want to participate in. And let me know in the comments, are these things that you've participated in before, or have you never heard of them, or do you feel that they're not available to you? There are online places called Research Match, and I'm not sponsored, I'm not giving them a plug. It's simply a free resource and something that you can investigate, because if you're an older adult, or even if you still have family at home and you know that groceries are expensive. And whether you're on a plant-based diet like I am or not, the more we can stretch our grocery dollars, the better. My whole coaching protocol when I talk to people is that, you know, I know very few people who eat the way I do. It's unless I go to a conference or if I'm in a special online chat or something like that, that I don't, there's not, you know, there's no one I socialize with who follows the starch solution. And that's okay, because I don't choose friends or certainly family members based on their dietary preferences. This is a preference for me. Food is medicine in my world. And so my coaching is that I simply encourage people to add more vegetables and fruits and whole grains to their plate. Because if you're wanting to make any lifestyle changes, if you want to make any improvements to your diet to better manage chronic conditions, it's no secret that eating the rainbow is beneficial. I have a lot of antioxidants here. I have a lot of fiber here. And these are whole foods. So that means it's much easier for me to digest. And as we get older, our digestive tract and a lot of our organs slow down. And if we have chronic conditions, then that means there are things that are degenerative. And I have arthritis, so that means everything that I am doing right now, I can slow down the progression of that disease that's never going to go away. I want to better manage what's going on now. And for anyone out there who's younger or isn't in a position where you are living with any chronic diseases, there are so many things that you can do right now to prevent any of those. And that is so much easier than when you wind up, and sometimes it's inevitable. We get injured, we get ill, things are in our genetics, all sorts of things can happen. Bottom line, adding more whole foods, especially produce, so good for you. So good. I'm going to put a link to Broccoli Mom's channel, and then if I find the video that actually highlights this cookbook that I'm talking about, and again, it is called or maybe I didn't say it, it's the Great Northern Indian Vegan Cookbook. And that's where, and I haven't made either of these recipes, so watch for those in a Nourish video coming up, my little short playlist, and I will show how those turn out. I don't know that I'll put them on the same plate, but I probably will, especially when this pineapple is fully ripe. I've got a sunny window there behind me, and so this little baby will sit over there, and when it's very fragrant, I've already given this a check in the store, and it feels like it's going to be ready in a day or two. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't watched before, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Giving me a thumbs up helps a lot to tell the algorithm that I've given you something useful, and I hope I have. And I hope to see you again. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.